I'm making this final video communication for one purpose. Friends, family, specifically for the family that I guess I helped raise for well over a decade. You should have known that this was coming. I'll tell you a little something about the terrarium that you exist in. But before I do that, the first thing I need to tell you, do you remember a long time ago, you were 5 years old, you went into a school, you had a fresh belief system, you wanted to learn everything. What you need to do is toss away everything you've ever been taught. All of the indoctrinations and the human controlled conditioning, belief systems, everything. You need to throw it all away right now so you can hear what I'm about to tell you. What I'm about to tell you has never been heard inside of this terrarium you call on Earth. The words I'm about to talk have never been explained in any of your ancient histories. It isn't being discussed now. You cannot find it on the internet. There is no cult, no religion. There's nothing that will describe what I'm about to describe. Along the path of the last decade, I've been leaving video documents, if you want, to give you some insights, give you some perspective. You can't just drop a bomb on the beings inside this terrarium. It'll destroy the fragility of their psyche. You need to drop everything you were ever taught, never wanted to believe in right now. The human God concepts, the human belief systems, and all your institutions of illusions, which is medical, health, education, social services, policing, courthouses, government, preachers, priests, soldiers. Toss it all to the side. You're going to have to listen to these words intently. You're going to have to be like a child again, ready to learn. I can't explain it enough. The two things I'm going to do in this final communication, and it is the finality. Some of you lived with me for over a decade, more. Some of you were friends with me for a long time. Some of you maybe have come to get to know a little bit about my video communications online. Most importantly, I want to make sure this is directed at those that I lived with. Even at this very second, it's almost too much for me to... I have no choices left. Nor do I have any time left. And that's a fact. So work with me on this. If a person's about to die, like when my mother got murdered by your wonderful creatures in the institutions, most disgusting creatures within the realm of the earth. Cops, soldiers, preachers, priests, doctors, nurses, teachers, social workers, you name it, anything in the institutions that make human inventory out of human beings, the essence of making a paycheck. They are the most repulsive, disgusting, grotesque creatures on the face of the earth. And they are the dark entities that will be remaining within this terrarium, and assuredly throughout the rest of what is they don't perceive as an eternal existence. It will be within the tomb of the dark womb. This is going to sound a little bit impossible to believe. And it's frustrating even now. I don't know how else I can... I don't know. You're going to have to bear with me. It's a DVD. This is going to be the hardest part to explain to you. I want to emphasize right now the reason that I'm holding this DVD, there's significance. And this is not going to be an exciting, not till the end. But I have to say, towards the end will excite the hell out of you. What I'm going to start off is a slow motion, a pattern of information that needs to be conveyed. You listen intently like you've never listened throughout the rest of your life. I lived with some of you for over a decade. You will listen. Some of you are my friends. You will listen. You will toss out every human concept you've ever been indoctrinated and conditioned into believing right now. Every word I'm about to say, you will accept 100%. You will not let any other creature try and debate what I'm about to say. You will soak what I'm about to say. You will absorb it like a sponge. Again, you're about to be introduced to something. No living being within your terrarium. No living beings beyond the icy barrier that you refer to as the poles. Nor any living being below. None of you have ever heard this. You listen to the damn words. You listen hard. Forget the human concept of a human God. Do not look up into the skies and assume that that is a bunch of solar systems circulating within a bunch of galaxies circulating within a universe. That is an optical illusion. It is a hallucination. It is known as a hologram up there. The spheres of the sun and the moon are identical. If you decrease the luminosity of the sun and increase the luminosity of the moon, you'll notice that the sun as well has craters and that the moon suddenly loses its own. These are projectors for daytime and nighttime perceptions. They create your environment. They literally, like a projector screen inside of a movie theater, they project the environment you're living and experiencing. This is going to be hard for you to understand, so I'll make it simple. 2011, I gave you a hint. I gave a video. I explained the originator, known as best in the human English language, would be called the All. Consciousness, desired to perceive existence in required environment. So a womb was thought projected into existence. They became as one. The originator, your motherly father, which has no biological structure of genitalia, the originator thought projected everything into existence. The fields you're being experiencing right now, you are projecting into these fields. Your projections, your essences are projecting into the fields you're experiencing what you believe is materialization, but what you're really experiencing is realization. You'll have to understand from the very beginning the originator, the All. You have to grasp this now. Thought projected everything into existence. There are two types of what you would call in the human sciences, atoms, molecules, cells, whatever you'd like to give them a name, it doesn't matter. There are two types of cellular structures. One of them is consciousness. The other one is facilitator cells. In other words, consciousness can reproject, and the facilitator cells, they facilitate whatever you project. You are projecting into these fields. The stars above are not billions of light years away. They are you. Your eternal essence is projecting down deep into these fields. You're experiencing your realization within a dream. Within a dream. This is going to sound crazy, but what you exist in is called the Dreamarium. The Dreamarium has different sectors throughout the dark womb and the lighted womb. You're in one of the sectors of the dark womb. You want to know why it is the way it is on planet Earth, as you call it a planet, not you, a family and friends. It's a terrarium to you. You want to understand the Dreamarium. The Dreamarium is very simple. All fields of existence are really and truly dreams. Even when you lay your head at night and you experience this field, you You experience it as materialization. You perceive physical realities, but yet you wake up and say, but that was just a dream. There was nothing material about it. It was very much immaterial. But yet you perceived it as material when you were connecting or projecting into that field at night. Right now, you are projecting on another field to receive this communication. The hardest thing for you to imagine is the reality. You are existing within a dream field. You are projecting into a field, and you are a co-designer in this field. And the field is really nothing more than a dream. And the dream that you're existing in right now to experience receiving my communication to you, it be the secondary dream field. The primary is the one you reattach to and reproject your focuses onto every night you sleep. You'll have to understand the pattern of this dream field and the one you experience at night both run 24/7. While you're awake and conscious right now, the other half of the world is sleeping. And while you're sleeping, they're consciously doing whatever they're doing. Consciousness, it experiences what we call realizations. You enter environments and you become a co-designer within the environment. In other words, you become proactive. But it was all prescripted. All of it was prescripted. It's been all pre-written. The field you're existing in right now is not the current time. The future that you're about to anticipate already occurred a long time ago. And I know that this sounds like fantasy. You're in a Dreamarium where the terrariums that you experience, which are really different sectors or realms, some of them have only one primary dream field, which is what you experience nightly. Some of them have a secondary field, the one you're experiencing now. And unfortunately, within this dream field that you're experiencing now, technology and media. When I say media, I'm talking about Hollywood celebrities, I'm talking about musicians, I'm talking about news, TV shows, movies, anything entertaining you on a screen, whether it be a cell phone, a laptop, or a television. It is another fundamental dream field being created within the dream field of the terrarium of the earth, within the Dreamarium. The Dreamarium has two wombs, the lighted womb and the dark womb. You are existing within the dark womb, experiencing your realizations in this field. You're really living inside of a dream. I know that this is going to sound hard to accept. I know that this is going to be something you're going to question. I know people that are going to be watching this with you, if you choose to let them. They're going to say, wild theories. It's a good hypothesis. It's a hell of a philosophy. So before I go any further explaining the sectors of Dreamarium, I'm going to let you know who you are living with. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight as to who the former dad, the common law husband, whatever you want to give names and labels to, in our make-believe fictional world. There's a reason you'd be important to one of you, because I said something to one of you. Something that has to be attended to now. You'll have to remember this DVD represents so much. Within the DVD there are time rings, all of them pre-written. And within the existence you're experiencing, there are time rings, timelines, pre-written. Your future occurred long ago. So I will help you to understand, when you lived with me, why I always knew what was about to happen. And I would tell you what would happen well before it happened, and you hated to be around me because you felt too transparent, that I knew way too much about you. Why the kids hated me, why you hated me, was for good reason. But I said something to you, something that this video communication has to establish. So let's give you a little bit of an idea of the person that I once was before you met me. And I'll relate a story to you, because my mother, in the human form, the biology, whatever you want to call it, physiology, I once said something to her. I want you to listen very intently, because if I sever my connection to this physical projection, this persona, and I reproject into the fields that are giving life to these fields, you will think I'm dead. Assuredly, I'm just reprojecting and focusing on a different field of dreams. When people die, they should leave some kind of a message to their loved ones, to their friends, what have you. They should do something like this with the technology available today. And the question is, why do you have this technology right now? All prescripted. You, lady, once thought that I was the reason that there were hurricanes. You blamed me for 2004 and 2005, the tsunami, Boxing Day. You thought 100%, you believed 100%. It was me. And nothing I could say was changing your mind. The problem was I was remembering the events that occurred as though I'd watched it on a movie thousands of years ago. The events that happened in 2005, the reason that I reacted the way I did is the same reason when they brought down the towers in New York. It wasn't new to me. I remembered seeing it on the DVD of this terrarium, this dream field. That's what freaked me out. That's what you perceived. You thought it was me making this happen. It really wasn't me. When I was a little boy, I had to make a promise to my mother. And when she was in the hospital, the day she went into the hospital and found out that she was about to be murdered, her husband gave me a call. It said, I need you to come to the hospital. He wrongly anticipated that I was still 40 minutes away from the hospital, not knowing what was about to transpire. He thought I didn't know what he was just informed and what she was informed. And like I told him, when the doctor was informing you to, you didn't need to phone. I already know in advance. That's why I was already inside the elevator coming up. I was only about 30 seconds away when her husband phoned. I already knew. Within this sector of the Dreamarium, the events that you're experiencing right now, you're reliving over and over again. They are like pixelizations within this disc. You are reliving and re-experiencing over and over again. You are as much living the 5-year-old you as you are the age you are now, or the 20-year-old you, or the 15-year-old you. And you're constantly I won't go into that right now. There's a reason for this difficulty that I can't get. I'm not going to be creative with this final communication. It's strictly communication. I don't want to make a documentary. To explain the lighted womb, the Dreamarium, the originator, why co-designers exist in an environment where designers form the environment of the dream fields. You got a sun and a moon. They project they're the projectors that are creating your nightscapes, your dayscapes. I hate to tell you this, what you're seeing every day is an illusion. I know when you touch it, you feel it. I know when you feel pain, misery, and sorrow. It's the sensories. And no, don't get into that stupid movie, this Matrix thing, or any of that, or that Avatar stuff that body, transfers consciousness to another body and animates it. There might be some intelligence to that, but there's no computers, there's no artificial intelligences that are running like a Matrix, as they call it in the movie or whatever. Don't even worry about that movie. Do not trust anything you're going to hear from any professor, just don't trust anything in the institutions. They are the eternal essences that will remain within the tomb of the dark womb for an eternity. They are a dull light form, like the sun and the moon. They're just a duller luminosity. Your lights are your frequencies. I could pick you up from all of them very quickly. You have to understand that this is not easy, is it? Remember when I was telling you about black flags and then all the bad events was happening right after? I'm not a psychic. I saw the movie. I know what happens. I've seen far into your future. What happened to me to start making sudden reality was I was, as I told you, informed that they are scheduled to perish. And as I said to you, I thought it was originally you and the kids. And when you got into that car crash with that big truck head on at 120, you should have been dead, all of you. I honestly thought the Jinn, as they're known, the Wanginos, I guess in the West they refer to them as space aliens, that they come from Uranus. Yeah, I saw them in the clouds, so they come from another total different planet. Those aren't even planets up there. It just irritates me what humans can come up with. There is no out there. That field is a field within the earth, and I'm frustrated. You've been indoctrinated into conditioned belief systems for far too long. Fuck, am I angry. You're going to need to drop all your human conditioned belief systems, your concepts, all of it. Just toss it. This is the most frustrating thing to do. Is it's like going into another continent and trying to speak to other beings that don't know your language. I'm speaking a language the humans have never heard. It's referred to as the truth. The war is not with those below the mountains in Lemuria. The Lemurians control what is perceived as a human race. They are not the creators. Beyond the icy divides that you call circles, North Pole, South Pole, whatever you want to call them, you're inside of a terrarium. It's not flat. It's not round like a spinning beach ball. You're in a terrarium, a dream field. It's parallels. Parallels. This way. Not circular. Not bumpy because there's mountains and it's all flat earth. You're in parallel fields. You're in dream fields. I'm getting angry. It's so simple to understand how your projection of your light, your eternal essence above is looking down at you. You're projecting down below. That's why you see your face looking back at you. I know this sounds like wild fantasy. You're projecting into these fields, is what I'm telling you. You're projecting your little lights, just like a laser does onto this little piece of plastic called a DVD, and it transforms it before you into a 3D reality. The only difference with the secondary dream field you're experiencing right now is you've got heightened senses. The dream field you exist in right now offers you additional sensories. Unfortunately, you're in the dark womb. It has a lot of negativity to it. I wish I had more time. But I'm going to be forward with you. I had just been informed. My timeline here, within the time rings, coming to an end soon. In this field. But just very, very short period of time. I will no longer be projecting into these fields. I'm severing the connection to this projection. This what we call realizations. What you think is mere materialization is actually a realization, but it's within dream fields, and you're going to sense all kinds of smells, sounds, feelings, touches, whatever you want, sights, sounds, whatever you want. It's generated from the highest parallel field above within your terrarium. It captures the eternal essences of pure light that leave the lighted womb, puts them into hibernation. They project into a field below, and then they reproject their energy into another subfield that you're experiencing now. A process you refer to as reincarnation. It's not so stupid, it's actually quite real. So when you hear people talking about astral projections, well, projection is a key word. When you hear about people doing an LSD trip or a DMT trip and they're talking about this, all these wild adventures, but it gets so damn real. In essence, it is real. They are entering the one above you, the other, they're projecting into that field. The projection ceases in this field, and the projection is focused on that field. Even those that experience near-death experiences say, well, I enter the light and I see my family and I see this, and my life flashes like a blink of an eye. It's true. Your life does flash in a blink of an eye, because touch yourself right here on the shoulder. You can't touch that person again. Disappeared into the memory fields. When you take a picture of somebody, you say, oh, look, their movement, you can see some blur. What you're actually seeing is called the materialization fading. It's fading into the memory field. Too much for you to understand. The facilitator cells are detaching, but the pixelization remains the same within the time rings. Too much for you to understand, too creative for you to understand. You've been lied to since the very beginning, and that's all part of the program. And I'll use it, not the Earth program, the consciousness that rules the Earth. No, it's the Lemurians. They already told you you're an adopted race, but your creators, they come from beyond your terrarium. Sounds like too much for you to grasp. I know it sounds like it's all fantasy. There's a reason they're so adamant to keep you unaware of whether or not you've seen UFOs or whether they're real. You were with me when you saw them in Jasper. You were walking with me down the back roads when we were out in the Acres area. You saw them above a house. Your daughter saw the triangular one, which she was calling the dog ends. Come on. Not only are they real, they've been here from the very beginning, before the human race. Those beyond the icy divide, beyond the perimeters of your terrarium, they're from Ananaquia. The Ananaquians created the human race, no different than you can do so in a test tube today. And they say, I'm going to say it straight up. They say they tried to flood out the human race because they found that the humans were all evil. Well, duh. Everything be evil in the dark womb, including those from Ananaquia and Lemuria. They as well be on their own parallel dream fields within time rings. Everything within the Dreamarium, from the lighted womb to the dark womb. All the parallel dream fields. All of it's recorded, your every thought. Nothing to be hidden. I know I don't want to be sounding spiritual or religious, so you're going to have to really hold on, because if I sever my connection to this physical projection, what you experience as materialization is really called realization. What's the sense of having materialization if you don't realize that you exist and that there's an environment that surrounds you? Don't worry about the words materialization. Concentrate on the words realization. Even within a dream, you have to realize you're there. Everything of existence is all strictly dream fields. There is no material fields. None exist. None of them could. It'd be the same in the lighted womb. The same as it is here in the dark womb. All the sectors of different, what you want to call worlds, planets, whatever. I don't care anymore. All sectors and realms within the lighted womb, they would be similar in nature to the dark womb, where you experience your realizations in the lighted womb the same way you do here. You experience it in the form of materialization. At least the sensories perceive materialization. There is none. How can you really be real if you cease to exist every second you inhale and exhale? That second that just departed you entered the memory fields. The difference between you at the age of 1, 5, 10, and now, that 1 second ago, they can only be just remembered, not touched. We need to skip on. You need to understand right now, drop all human concepts. When I'm speaking to you about the Dreamarium, the originator, the designers of environmental, what you call the dream fields, these what you're perceiving as the environment of an earth, as what you call a world or a planet. The designers create the environments, and the co-designers, they come into it and they project their lasers, if you will, onto the DVD. But they do so in accordance with the original design, pre-scripted. All things that are happening, I've known all along. I did not create the hurricanes. I did not create the tsunamis. I was in shock because I'd already seen the video and I was remembering it. The problem was I was remembering too much. This is why I started going a different path. And when I had to make the agreement, when I was told you were scheduled to perish, and then I found out after I made the agreement with the jinn, Then I realized I wasn't focused on those I love most. It was it was global. I use the word global because you can grasp it. You're not a globe. You're not existing in a globe. As I said, you're living in parallel fields. Anyways, what you need to really understand is I've entered a dream field within a dream to come get you. My biological mother, as it's called here. I was speaking to my mother when she was in the hospital, and I went into that room, and I was only 30 seconds away when her husband phoned. And of course, when she told me what she told me, I already knew. But I reminded her of something, and I said, I made you a promise when I was 5. The only human being, if you call it what you are, a human being, the only being that could, the only one that knew who I was, I had to watch me murdered. There was a day me and you were talking, lady, and I gave you this information one time on the couch, and you said 2 words. You said, I think you're so-and-so. I couldn't respond to that at the time because you were right. So I told my mother in that hospital room, we had our fights, whatever. Didn't see each other for a long time. Sometimes you don't see people for a while. And anyways, a long time goes by and you realize when you see them again, I guess what I'm trying to say, some attachments will never be severed. You gotta bear with me. Sometimes I get a little flustered because there's no way to communicate inside this dream field, inside the dark womb. I'm not just fighting the 7.5 billion human creatures. They be just the co-designers within this environment, bringing activities to life. I'm also fighting the consciousness, if you will, of the designers, what you perceive as your world, the environment that gives you an existence. I'm fighting the dark womb, which was designed for containment, to quarantine the activities so that those in the light of the womb remain unaffected. I'm getting pissed off. How do I explain these things to you that will totally disrupt every belief system you've been trained on since childhood? Again, people would want to make some fancy video, make this a book concept. Makes me sick. You know, you hear a little girl saying, I'm going to commit suicide because the world is a evil place. And they do so live on, for whatever reason, on the internet. Feel for them because I'd be neither suicidal nor homicidal. I'd be genocidal. You know, according to your traditional ritualistic views of religions, some crazy character decides to say he's a god, realizes that the human design was a mistake and it's completely evil, tries to flood out the species completely, and some goofy little critter named Noah builds a tugboat and somehow repopulates. Everything makes no sense in the Dreamarium when you're inside the dark womb. The dark womb design is one of conflict and deception, disillusionment. It is a quarantine zone meant to contain, but also to provide environments for you to experience realizations. Because beings be of the dull, lighted essence doesn't mean that they're punished by the originator. They're given environments to exist in. However, their dullness will never permit them to enter the lighted womb. It's an environmental field, if you will, that they couldn't exist within. The problem for those with full light frequency is those that are of the lighted womb, they have the free will to cross over to the dark womb and not even know it and get trapped into it. I used to have an adage that sometimes the angels cross over into the dark womb and they give up their wings in exchange for emotional scars. The problem is that I know everything imaginable. And I know that everything within the dream field you're existing, all of your institutional workers, the media, the worst of them, cops, the sickest, the most grotesque creatures you could ever deal with, the cops, they try to promote themselves using the media and schools as good people. They're child rapists. They kidnap kids and they rape children. They're no good for nothing. They never will be. Soldiers, teachers, preachers, blah, blah, blah. Makes me sick. Labels and labels and labels and all make-believe games. I watch children on the playground play cowboys and Indians, doctors and nurses, and blah, blah, blah. And then they become adults and they get paid to play make-believe. In this world, they take a piece of bark out of a tree and they add some ink to it and say, here you, we have created a concept to rule over ourselves because we're fools. I hate the dark womb. I hate all sectors of it, including this one. I can't battle the Dreamarium. The Dreamarium is everywhere. There are thought projections from the all, the originator. Along the path, the originator desired or thought projected, if you will, conscious eternal essences. I don't use the word spirit or soul, but the eternal essence, because in essence you are eternal conscious. For the process of division, to reclaim those that belong to the lighted womb and do a transference back into the lighted womb and leave those that are designed to remain in the dark womb. It's hard for you to fathom, but the originator thought projected creations of beings that would have 3 connections, not 2. Beings that you're used to, including yourself, you could experience. It's like 2 plugins to experience electrical transference into 2 different types of appliances. You've got 2 connections. You're experiencing the environment or the realization, the materialization of your body within the realization of an environment you call an earth. You have 2 connections. I have 3. I'm still connected like a tether to the lighted womb. And when I'm in the lighted womb, I still have a connection to the dark womb where I recognize this existence. And I assure you, as much as you don't believe, there's a space where the fields are so perfect, whatever you imagine instantly surrounds you. You're instantly and simultaneously projecting into different environments of those you love instantaneously, better than you can imagine on a cell phone or a laptop with a webcam. What I'm telling you is all truth. The originator recognized the designers create their environments, and the co-designers, well, they participate within the environments. But division was a necessary step, and thought projection of new created beings that could exist with 3 connections to experience the 2 connections required for either side, lighted womb or dark womb, but still remain tethered. I assure you, those in the lighted womb don't believe there's a place like this where they rape children, rape women, torture people, persecute, prosecute, constantly pointing fingers and hypocrisy with family, fights with family, friends with friends, people on the streets fight with people on the streets, people in cars giving each other the finger. In the light of womb, they don't believe that this dark, nightmarish place exists. It's understandable that those of the dark womb, a design that's meant to contempt your reasoning based on the principles that the elements of the dark womb are about deception and conflict. It's total confusion. So the originator created a process of division. And the only way I can assimilate for you to understand its appropriate placement in appropriate environments. The birds, their appropriate environment is the air, is the fish in the oceans, animals in jungles and forests, on the lands, humans the same. Appropriate environments, appropriate placement. There's no mercy, forgiveness, or equilibriums of karma. So I use this word from the Human English Dictionary, but the process of transference, where those that have gotten caught into the dark womb are retransferred back into the light room. Their projection stops projecting deep into these low fields of the dark womb and is transferred into the light womb to project into the fields of the light womb. That transference or division had to be accomplished. Beings with reconnections were created for the purpose of vindication. And vindication is the word I use because the Human English Dictionary has the best definition of division. So, in essence, what the originator, that you would believe to be the creator of all existences, the originator projected by thought, the design of consciousness, the creation of beings, created vindicators that come into the dark womb and do the transference. I know this sounds crazy, but it's the reality. It is the truth. It's the one language, the human race, those of Lemurians and descending down below your mountains, they have their own subfields as well. Those from Anunnaki, the Anunnakians, they assume themselves to be kings and gods. Assuredly, none be gods. They be frauds. Drop every religion that the earth ever created. Drop everything that the earth ever laid on the table for you. Your laws, your teachings, your sciences, all of it. We're at a position within the DVD where this is important. You hear all these words. I'm going to be removing you and a lot of others from the dark womb. I'm going to explain it very simply for you. When you sever your connection to your persona, your realization, and you reproject to the fields that you think nightly or just imagination, they are the primary fields that feed the field you are experiencing right now, receiving this communication in. I've come into a dream within a dream to speak to you. I know it sounds fucking crazy. Maybe I need to bug my eyes out like somebody who's had a total breakdown. Maybe I should cross my eyes. Humans, it's not your fault. No more than a clock goes tick-tock. Your design is your design. You follow the pattern of your designs. I can't fault the species for... I can't fault the essences that are projecting into these fields for being trapped into hibernation, projecting into fields that they assume to be the only real one of existence. Within the dark womb, there are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of sectors of different dream fields, just like the ones you're experiencing now. The time ring that you're experiencing right now, the timeline you're experiencing right now, there are time rings that are surrounding this timeline, or bigger DVDs that overlap this DVD. Those that exist on a future timeline know about your history. They're called the Jinn. They are not space travelers, nor are they time travelers. They are position travelers. Within the time rings, they just project into another level of the time ring. They find a little sector, and that's where they position their projections. Your actual year is not what you believe it is. the time rings that surround this one after what comes of this timeline, which ends in fireworks. You've got time rings that surround the one you exist in that far, well, they're probably about 50,000 years into the what you call the perception of a future. I know it sounds too much, and in essence it is. It is too much for your essence to comprehend. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is I'm not trying to make you understand, nor is it an important condition for you to believe. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. When I made that promise to my mother, what I promised her at the age of 5 is very simple. I won't get into the reasons we had the discussion, but it was referring to death. And I'd like you to imagine yourself listening to your son at 5 years old telling you, "Lady, I did not come into this dream to let you just die. I've come to bring you home." You'd wonder what the hell your 5-year-old's talking about, because you're used to hearing the word kids have imaginary friends, kids have too much imagination. So the human that was my mother, of course she played that little game of, "And where are you from?" So I told her. And keep in mind, just as we raised a family that was absolutely 100% free of religion, so was mine, my upbringing. So if you're dealing with people who have absolutely no desire for Christian concepts, to have a 5-year-old say, "Everything they told you about my former projection is a lie," and then as a child you tell your mother your identity, and your mother looks at you and says, "How did you know about that name?" And then you tell the mother that isn't even truly the name, and the concept of the last portion is a joke. At 5 years old, you're just learning to spell. You're just learning ABC 1, 2, 3. Your mother's not prepared to hear that, but I did tell her very specifically, I'm bringing her home. That was the promise I reiterated in the hotel or the hospital that night. I never break those kinds of words, and I will be bringing her home. I want you to understand how the DVD works. You'll know when the fireworks are really about to begin. I want to make it. You'll know when the fireworks are about to begin. I can't say it enough that you have established buildings, personnels that claim to have over close to 500 nuclear facilities, tens of thousands of nuclear warheads, enough to destroy this terrarium 100 times plus. The catch within your dream field is that everything that is manufactured is inevitably used. When Jerusalem and Vatican City become the symbols of ruins, then you know the fireworks are really about to begin. The fireworks, the grand finale. I've already seen the DVD. I don't want to tell you many more details because I don't even want to really ruin the ending for you. But it's important that you're going to know whether you were somebody I raised, somebody who was a friend, specifically you, who was once my common law, that I need you to understand something, because as I told my mother something, I once told you something, and it was of major value and importance, but you overlooked it. You were once on a couch, and I told you I will haunt you forever, and you were so damned angry with me. So damned angry. You were so frustrated with me. By the end of this communication, you'll understand enough, maybe you'll forgive me. You're not going to grasp or capture and understand, comprehend anything I'm saying. The Dreamarium is too hard for you to understand. The dark womb the half of the environment that you're projecting into won't permit you. They're still going to tell you these crazy theories that two rocks banged together and created a universe. They're going to tell you these crazy theories that the sun and the moon are basically a cosmic coincidence because one is 400 times further away and one is 400 times smaller, and it creates the illusion of eclipses could be so. They're really spheres within your ears. They are projectors, the light projectors, like a movie theater, projecting into the fields below as well, just like you are, as all the humans, all the animals, the stars, projecting into the fields to experience realization. I know it sounds crazy. You're existing within a dream within a dream. And worst part is cell phones, laptops, and TV sets create another perspective of another fictional dream world, keeping you captivated. There's a reason for this. The reason for sudden reality was because I knew that we were going to have to be separated. It was for you. What do all humans do? They focus on those they care about the most. Expect no less from me. And what should all humans do if they know they're about to sever their connections to the physical apparatus, what they believe is a materialization? It's realization. I keep repeating that. It's just a realization. It's consciousness attaching to what seems to be a body, but it's really a composite of facilitator cells. And with every breath you take, with every one you inhale and exhale, what you're really inhaling is not air. What you're exhaling is not air. You're inhaling and exhaling information. You're transferring information. You're receiving it. You're directing it. That's what breaths are about. It's frustrating because I know everything I'm saying is going to sound like a fantasy. When in truth it'd be the only reality. And how do I entertain and excite you when I'm not even desiring to entertain? And I'm not specifically excited myself to make this final communication. What I'm doing is I'm trying to give you preparation within the dream field. You'll have to understand it's like a lucid dream where you suddenly realize within the dream field that you're projecting in that you're not just a projection within the field. You suddenly realize I have another projected field. Or in simpler terms, it's like when you dream and you suddenly realize I'm just really dreaming, and you wake yourself out of the dream. Your eternal essence in the highest fields, the stars as they call it, is projecting into the field. The co-designers, the real designers are your sun and moon. And I'm using the words designers and co-designers because it's something you can grasp and establish. Those are the dual connections. The one provides the environment of what you call a whatever, terrarium and earth, whatever you want to call it. The little stars projecting in here are the co-designers. They project the materializations that you perceive to be material when they're immaterial. They project the realizations to co-design, to create instance activities within. It's too much to understand for you. The Dreamarium is not really that complex. It's the rebirth of new generated thought projections, creating new environments for other consciousness to enter and become entertained by, to be experiencing realization. Nothing is really of physical matter. Nothing. But you're damn well going to have sensories that tell you different. And I'm frustrated because within the Dreamarium, the transference from the dark womb to the lighted womb, it requires vindicators of three connections. The vindicators, their positions are to project into the field with you, to accept the years of amnesia from the very beginning. But because they're tethered, they inevitably come out of the, we'll call it the coma. Well, you start to remember things like your future. And when things occur, you don't look at it on a television screen and go, wow, this is new to me. You go, I remember that movie from when I was a kid. You remember that movie from long ago, and you go, These destructions, these tsunamis, these hurricanes, I've already seen them. I already saw this news channel projecting this is just what happened. And it is frustrating. Because how can beings of two connections truly understand what a being of three connections experiences? You can't. Nor can I understand yours. The vision's coming very quickly. It was already written. That chapter that you think is still ahead of you, well, it's far behind you. All of you. A lot of the instances of experiencing beings, materializations as they believe, the realizations will look for sanctuaries below. About 60 so years ago, they discovered that there were underground incubators, cities that they could modernize. They've been preparing, not for a space war, not for the money that they've been funneling all along was for developments underground. They're preparing to descend. My words to you are to prepare to ascend up and beyond the boundaries of what you consider to be a universe above your head. You will be leaving this dimension altogether. I do not ever sever my connections to those I've grown attached to. None of you. Even if I was a friend for just a minute, I'm a friend eternally. And I have to keep re-emphasizing, I know this sounds like it's a fantasy. You're inside of a massive Dreamarium, a Dreamarium that just creates constant dream fields. And that you, like a speck of sand, feel like you're susceptible, you're fragile to creation itself. It has control over you. And in certain manners, it does. The idealisms of a controlled fate or the ability to direct your own destiny, they are strictly delusional. Unfortunately, you projected your essence into the fields of the dark womb. And the sector that you are projecting into, the sector or whatever you call it, world or planet, whatever you want to call it, the sector on the DVD that you're projecting into, that you are now become a co-designer with. That time ring in the DVD, if you will, that time ring, around ring, just think of little tiny hula hoops, and each one gets bigger and bigger. Each timeline becomes a longer phase. The jinn know this. They've been around for 50,000 years after your extinction. They keep entering the dream fields. They keep reprojecting the lighted, and that's why they call them lighted orbs, angels of light in the Bible, if you want to call it that. They keep reprojecting in here to try and grasp onto certain elements of perceived physicalities, of beings, to try and recreate in their new environment what once existed in this environment. But unfortunately, the chemistry of their environment is totally different than the chemistry of this dream field. It won't permit this type of existence again. Won't stop them from trying. In essence, those that you call space aliens, the Jinn, the One, Genos, the Quetzalcoatl's Mayan calendars, what they call it a Mayan calendar, it was a compass all along. I don't care about the human concepts. I just tell you now, the Jinn, they exist only in that form in tens of thousands of years. They also exist in human form today. Those so-called space aliens are really the reprojections of the beings of today in new fields with new, we'll call it, realizations of physical materializations, if that's what you want to, that's what they would assume it to be. They can discard their physical bodies very quickly. They understand that they exist in dream fields. So when some say that they are the dream warriors, or that they are an advanced form of spiritual being, in essence, they're telling the truth. The jinn are far advanced. They are more than aware that every field that they enter is a sector within the DVD. It's on a timeline. They know that they're not space traveling and time traveling. They know they are positional travelers. And unfortunately, they know that they were once the human race of today. The Dreamarium is not complex. It's actually based on a simple structure. There is two environments. One is the lighted womb, one is the dark womb. The dark womb is designed to give you conflict and deception, to keep you trapped, to keep you quarantined. All new projections of consciousness are born here. All those who transfer from the lighted womb can get trapped here, hibernating into projecting their realizations in the fields below. The lighted womb allows no new conscious creations. Lots of environmental creations, lots of dream fields. But the co-designers in the dream fields of the lighted womb, they don't create new conscience. It's not like here where they create babies. In the lighted womb, the greatest aphrodisiac, orgasm, whatever you will, is the creation of anything new. The facilitator cells instantly materialize, just like they do on the screens of your laptop, your cell phone, and your TV sets. The pixelizations create this idealism of materialization, realism. Just realization, that's all it is. But in the lighted womb, there's no dark soils below the feet of the projected essences that form and fashion what they consider to be a physical structure of a body. And the airs are not dark there like they are here. Some would say it sounds boring. You're missing the challenge, you're missing the excitement and the thrill of challenge and relations and etc. And I ask you to consider that if the whole of this Dreamarium, if this sector that you call the Earth, if this dream field that's this plane of existence, if every inch of it on the continents were composed of roller coasters and fun houses and all kinds of created barns of excitement, when would you ever have the time to be bored or upset? In the lighted womb, there is no negative charged emotions. There's no negativity whatsoever. They can't even imagine you exist here. They can't even imagine the dark womb exists. They just can't perceive it. Because there's not a single atom, molecule, cell, whatever you want to use as a word to describe. There's not a single one of them that has dark charged energy to it. The dark charged energy only exists in this sector, in this dark womb. In the tomb of the dark womb, none escape without the assistance of three connected beings. You have to have three connections and be tethered to the lighted womb in order to be able to make the transference back into it. And the bond is actually quite a simple procedure, which is the reason for this final message. I've chosen you. And I'm going to get to why. There was a day, a little girl named Ashley was screaming, it was blood-curdling screams. I was in the room laying in my underwear, and you came walking in and yelled at me, did not even ask. You directed and commanded, get out there and fight for her. You took a person that was your breadwinner, a person that was supplying the income. You sacrificed that individual for somebody you've never met, a little 10-year-old girl named Ashley. And her mother, Kelly, well, she loved you for that. But when I went out there and I saw this Rottweiler was taller than me, and I was ripping her apart pretty good. The blood was going everywhere, and it was going for her neck, and thankfully that you came into play. In essence, what I'm trying to tell you is you were her savior, somebody you had never met. You sacrificed the only thing you had, and you put that out to fight that dog. I just followed your commands. There was nothing heroic about what I did. Everything about what you did was heroic. which is why I choose to connect with you when I transfer, because you'll bring a lot with you. You see how this works? Projections again. When you're projecting, you can actually be perceived or perceive however you desire. In other words, those that you love, you can perceive them in a manner that you would want to perceive them, and they can perceive you in a manner that they want to perceive you. This is in the highest field of the dark womb when you're about to leave. And what happens is it's a cord. A bond of cords are formed. Whoever you instantaneously think of immediately becomes bonded. A cord begins of lighted essences. I know this sounds like fantasy. It sounds like it's, wow, geez, you're saying something with a beautiful ending, but for many of you, there will be a beautiful ending. And for the vast majority of the instances of realizations, the consciousnesses that project into this field, it isn't beautiful. But of course, it's pretty simplistic to imagine. You'll be immediately wanting to reconnect. How else can I say this? Because this gets big. This is where it gets stretchy. You'll want to reconnect to some individual identity named Arlene. Arlene will want to project to your sister Trina. Trina will want to see Lee. Lee will want to see Dave. Dave will want to see Brittany. It's that simple. Your sons and daughters and stepdaughter will have the same. Whoever they desire will instantly be connected to them in the court. It forms together. There's nothing for me to get excited about or entertain you with when I'm explaining this, because I guess you could say sincerely that my work's about to begin. In the dark womb, in this sector, those are the institutions, are the ones that are kidnapping all the children and forcibly raping them. They've been doing this for thousands of years. It's not just started when they say that they handed virgins over to gods and clouds on top of the mountain. It's been a ritualistic procedure since the very beginning, because the truth be told, the human race was designed for that very reason. The males to be butlers, to be servants, and the girls to be sexual slaves. The age of 7 or 8 is when they're designed to be most beautiful, angelic, with the most form-fitting bodies and long hair. This is the design. I can't blame clocks for TikTok. I can't blame the humans for their design. But assuredly, the preachers, the teachers, the cops, and the rest, and the judges, and the doctors, and all the rest that are raping the children in the private property quarters, the public can't go on doing it for thousands of years. You do realize that inevitably somebody has to fight them. It's just the design. It's part of the Dreamarium. It shouldn't shock you that I knew I was going to have to separate from you and the kids a long time ago. I knew what I had to do. I made a commitment to the jinn. Before I sever my connection to this projection in this field, where I'm experiencing the same realization as you, I'm thinking it's all material. But in truth, I'm not. Because as I said, inside of a dream, if it's a lucid dream, you begin to realize it be just a dream, and I start to wake up. But I'm not waking up into the field above me. That'd be the first resurrection. The one you're experiencing nightly when you close your eyes and lay your head on a pillow. That's the first resurrection, the human heaven concept, the one you're experiencing at night. Those that are on DMT and LSD trips and the rest. Those that go into what they call the astral projection fields and the rest. That's your human heaven. That's your first field, the dream field. That's your first resurrection, is when you project in those fields and realize your consciousness lives beyond what you perceive to be a physical body. It'd be no different than when you're actually experiencing a dream and you're falling, and you all of a sudden before you splatter, you wake up in your bed and you say, geez, I'm still alive. The same happens when you think that you're going to give up the last gasp of air in your physical form here. And you're suddenly awake and projecting into the other field, what they call the human heaven, is the one that's the most crazy field of them all. You think that this place is crazy, this field. Those that are talking about astral projections and DMT trips, my God, they ain't kidding. The supposed heaven field, or the field above, the one the dream generates this field that you're experiencing now. Now that is absolutely without restrictions, conditions, and limitations. It's crazy. That is why so many become freaked out and decide to what they call reincarnate. They want to reproject into a more subtle field and experience heightened sensations. I know it sounds like it's theoretical. It's my opinion. It's spiritual. Maybe it's got a cultish idea. But then again, you know, I hate every living being on the earth. I can't have a follower. I couldn't have a friend come to me in a coffee shop and talk to me. I want to choke them out in 2 seconds. I do not want cults or followers. I have no desire to have. I don't want to write a book, and I sure as hell don't want this to be making any real headway. I've been nurturing these videos using the labeled YouTube, I guess as they call it, because I want to nurture the messages to a slim audience. I don't want a big audience because they don't matter to me. The vast majority of them are going to remain in the dark womb. I don't care about them. I'm going to the light of the womb and be taking you. I'm not going to care about those that are remaining in the tomb of the dark womb. I have no concern for those that are cops, soldiers, preachers, teachers, priests, all those that form state institutions, governance, the rest of it. Keep them. I don't want them. They're not desirable, and they are not even permittable into the light of the womb because their light is just too dull. Their frequency would be obliterated by trying to enter. You couldn't transfer them over. That's just reality. So when we do the transferences, you can expect straight up goods. There'll be a lot of cords being built instantaneously. It'll seem like a while, but it'll all be experienced within a second, just as I said earlier. You experience existence every second, and then that second fades into the memory field. And indeed, the second that's coming already exists in the memory field. That'll be too hard for you to grasp. The future already occurred long ago. You are now dreams, the remnants of dreams. You are shadows casting shadows. I came into this timeline the same reasons that you're, whatever you want to call them, space alien, the jinn. When they enter a certain sector of the time frames on the DVD, so did I. I came here for a reason, because I knew what was about to happen. So you pick a pivotal time. This is my last communication to you, and to my friends, the family. So I want to say straight up, the 12 years I spent with you and the kids, my greatest loves of life were attained, all of you. You can hate me all you will. It ain't going to change the events of the future. And you're going to hate me for saying this. As I said, there's no such thing as controlling your fate and destiny. Your inevitabilities are to be leaving the dark womb and be transferred into the light of the womb. You have no control over this. I do. That's going to piss you off. It's going to sound conceited, narcissistic. It's going to seem, maybe it's arrogance. Nonetheless, it's just the truth. Vindicators are created for those purposes. We divide. We separate appropriate placement to appropriate environments. That was what our thought projections into existence were all about. There'd be more. There'd be a lot more beings with 3 connections. Unfortunately, only 1 per sector at a time on the DVD. So if there be 1 sector called the Earth, if you will, there'll only be 1 out of 7.5 billion. And I'll say it straight up. I'm going to have to command Glenda, the mother, the same as I'm going to have to command Arlene, your mother. They've already reprojected into these fields in another form. In other words, they're creating new bonds and attachments as I give this message. But Glenda will be wanting to create the bond and the cord of attachment to David. David will want his daughter Tammy, and Tammy will want her son Owen, and Owen will want Derek, and Derek will want his brothers. These cords, they'll be made very quickly. And of course, Glenda will want her father, Glenn. Glenn will want his former wife, Hazel, and they'll want the 4 daughters, and the 4 daughters will want their sons and daughters. They'll want the Bonnies and Joeys. The Joey's going to want his 4 daughters, there's 3 daughters and son. It's a simple chord. It really is very simplified. There's nothing creative and complex about the Dreamarium. It's the confusion and the illusion within the dark womb. It's all this deceit and conflict that keeps you in a state of constant delusion. It isn't about different species controlling this one that's referred to as the humans. I'm going to say it to you very straight. Mothers be fighting with daughters, and brothers with sisters, friends with friends. As I said, the conflict is everywhere. It's inherent in the design of the dark womb. Far be it from me to be angry with any of you for hating me. I'd probably be the worst of the dark womb. I'm here to kill all of you. And when I say that literally, not figuratively. And I mean every word. But don't blame me. I, like you, am part of the design process. As I said, you're all co-designers within the environment of the designers. That's the dark womb. In the lighted womb, you also be co-designers and designers. You create your own environments as well as participate in environments created for you. I just be a designer of a different design. The simplicity of transference is just like projecting inside of a movie theater. We'll say that one theater has been painted with pure black walls. And on the opposite side, one's been painted with pure white walls. And you just simply take the projector, twist it around inside the little manager room, and you reproject into another. How does transfer? It's really very simple. It's a connected cord. I connect my bond. Make you reproject. You transfer from one room to another, literally. In that womb, there will be no mothers and brothers and fathers and sisters, and there is no this is my, this is that, this is an uncle, an aunt, a niece, a brother, a sister. And none of this exists. There are just individual identities. The colors of your eyes will be much more neon. Your retinas will be not black, but the lenses of your eyes will be white. They will be more bright. The skin, or the formations of skin, if you will, they do not have the pixelizations that allow for skin cells, pores. It is almost like pure plastic. There is no genitalia requirements. But once again, it'll seem as though you have to breathe air in that environment that is made not of soils, water, and air, but just strictly the waters and the airs. Those dream fields have nothing to do with soils. I know it sounds like imagination, it sounds like a fantasy, it sounds like the whole concept of the Dreamarium. And when I say the Dreamarium, you can't find it anywhere in any human concept throughout human history. When I speak of the lighted womb, you can't find this as any concept in any religion or any kind of ancient history. Nothing of this exists. Do you think it'd be a fluke that only one human being can actually know all these things, explain them? Do you think it was a fluke that I was always able to tell you what your father would say before you go and visit him and how it would all go down, and you'd be getting pissed off and telling me I'm sick of living with you, everything I'm going to do, you know about hours in advance? Sure, I know why you and the kids hate me. I know why you hated me, why you said you need to go, die, do something, get out of here, because we need to have a fucking life, because you know everything we're doing. Well, before we do it. It is sickening, and I feel for you. And in a sense, I'm saying my apologies to you now, because if it's about to go down, I have to sever my connections here to this projected field. And I have to send the message by fighting those that deserve to be fought. Those of dark essence, lighted projections of a dull nature, their frequencies are a blank. Cops, the worst of them. Judges, the worst. Media. Teachers, social workers, all of them that follow the institutions of illusions under the order of an establishment. You get these knuckleheads that are saying, look out for the new globalists and the new world order. My God, what kind of thing are you? The old world order is the concern. It's been going on since the very beginning. They're not trying to establish anything new. They're just trying to maintain what they've had all along. But this is the dark womb, and you will be deceived. Assuredly, my words are not deceptive. You'll probably need to watch this 2 or 3 times to understand the Dreamarium, and to understand the dream fields that you're existing in, and that you're inside of a dream, within a terrarium, and a terrarium without physical mass, but supposedly has physical mass. You're inside of a dream within a dream. You will always remain within the Dreamarium. You will always experience realizations without whatever sector you go to in the lighted womb. When you're reprojecting, you will experience. There's never going to be a day that Dreamarium does not facilitate all of existence. The facilitator cells will always react to your very thoughts. Consciousness was bound to facilitator cells from the very beginning. Nothing that is thought is not realized. Everything is projected. I know, it sounds spiritual, philosophical, and it makes me sick to have to explain this, because I know you're going to have people that go, it's got a great idea. It's not an idea, it's a reality. I entered the dark womb in this sector for one reason, and I'll help summarize it for you. I made you a deal one time. I said, I will haunt you forever. But I didn't say it in the dark womb. Let me make it clear to you now. I said it to a lot of you in the lighted womb. While we were there, I told you, you'll never escape. I'll always find you. When I say this with 100% confidence. If you could be me right this very second, you would understand. To feel what I feel, to understand what I understand, to know what I know. If you could be me for 1 second, you'd understand. It's beyond conceit, arrogance, narcissism. It's beyond 100% confidence. It's a boundary without fear. I have absolute confidence over all of this place you call an earth. The Lemurians below in their fields. The Anunnakians in their fields beyond. The Jinn, who thought that they were making agreements with me. When I was 3 years old, they surrounded me in a bed and they showed me a hologram of my supposed biological father. Watched the eyes and the tongue, and the hairs in the head and everything disappear. And then the dangling of worms going through the body and going, yes, I understand. When the body becomes a corpse, it's filled with worms, because reality, your skin textures, how did you come up with it? They came up with it by splicing the DNA of a worm to give you the color texture of your skin. I understood that at 3. When they were originally making their agreements, my first vaccination was not from human beings with their needles. My first vaccination was from the Jinn. Their mistake. Dumb creatures, just like the dumb creatures of the human earth today. 7.5 billion dumb creatures asking the same questions. Is there life after death? Is there a God? Is there a Jesus? Not all of them ask those things, but predominantly. Those of the Quran say, our God is different, named Allah. Those that follow Catholics, the Catholic route, the Jewish, the Christian, our God is Jehovah, our God is Yahweh. Don't you realize from both books that both times, the one saying I'm God appoints a servant named Moses or Muhammad and states very clearly right off the bat in the Quran, the same way as the other Bible, and I'm the God of Abraham. What more needs to be said? It's the same God, but they fight over it. Oh no, my dad's different. My dad's got a different name. You know, how did they come up with the name Allah? Well, they got sick and tired of the Christians and Catholics saying the name Jehovah and Yahweh, and they started going Allah, 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 Allah. I don't know, I'm being a smartass now. What I'm saying is, I could care less about your human concepts, your human gods, your human religions, all structures of sciences and technologies, all of your lies and laws and the courthouses and the policing and all the rest of the scum of the earth. I could care less about your politics. I could care less about the human anything. It's just a sliver of existence within a tree that never ends. Why place all of your invested energy into a sliver of existence? You get so many decades, you can count maybe those decades on your hands and experience is over. But you're going to discount eternity. that you're going to have realizations throughout forever. But I guess that's the design of the dark beings that exist. When the originator was formed, thought consciousness into existence, formed the womb of the Dreamarium and split it into two halves, lighted and dark. An unfortunate circumstance happened, and it's a reality. Before there was light, there was darkness, which is why some have duller light frequency, some have stronger light frequency. It's kind of like inheriting a skin color on birth inside this sector of the dark womb of the earth. Inside this dream field, some are born with different skin textures. It's not really their fault. Their textures, colors, the pigments. The pigments are not something they chose. It just happens to be inherited. Some beings were born of dark design. They had the element of darkness in their consciousness when they were thought into existence. Some, they had the attributes of light. They did not have the dark energy controlling their conscious that was thought into existence. You are all extensions of the originator. The originator experiences all possibilities through you. You are all instances of realizations, but extensions of the originator. And while you're in the dream fields of this sector of the dark womb, you are extensions of the earth itself, experiencing the designer's perceptions or wishes for perceptions. You are the co-designers, but you are extensions within the earth itself that give a full spectrum of activity and instances. It's too much to, I know, and I'm getting frustrated because what to me is elementary childhood. The information I give is, I know, perplexing, confusing. In some degree it's scary, because what I was saying to you is what I've said before. There are two resurrections. You sever the attachment to the physical persona that you perceive as materialized, which is just realized, and you reproject in the field that gives life to this field of dreams. And when you enter that dream, that's the first resurrection. The second is in the highest field, when you connect to your energy source, your essence, what you call a star. And once you're there, once you're transferred into the other womb, you're reborn. That's your second resurrection. I said these words thousands of years ago in the time ring. And in that timeline, I was very specific. I knew what was in the hearts of all the humans. I knew their design, their desires. I know a clock goes tick-tock because it's designed to do so. I knew the humans would take certain messages and distort them to fulfill their own agendas. I knew this. Certain things make me laugh about it. He supposedly was coming into the world to die for our sins, yet God sent him for us to kill him for our sins because we're angelic creatures, and yet God and him are one. He opens his eyes, they say, to the skies and looks at the sun to resurrect Lazarus. You resurrect Lazarus and you're looking up to the skies with your eyes wide open. And they say they follow him, but yet they close their eyes and look to the underground. And then they say, but he had to walk up a big hill with two big trees called a cross. They fuck up everything. They actually hung the former projection, and they took persona of that projection, that physical matter they perceived, and once it was dead from hanging, they rehung the body by putting stakes in the wrists of two damn branches, and then they put into the trunk of the tree, and the crown of thorns and all that. That was just a message to the rest of those in Jerusalem: do not defy your officials and authorities or denounce their God. Anyone who says that the guy that they've renamed Jesus and added a Christos concept from the Greeks in the human terrarium didn't denounce their God. Come on, John 8:44. You are the children of the devil. Your God is not an angelic, beautiful being. You're the children of the devil. If you're saying you're the child of Satan, then you're saying that the devil, I mean, it's so simple. The Jews, the Hebrews, whatever you want to call them, Israelites, thought that they were the favored children of God. To tell them that they're God, is really the devil, Satan. I already identified where they mentioned the name of the Lord of the Bible as Satan. That was in Samuel. I did this in Bubble Burst. It was important for you to have watched Bubble Burst, and most importantly, conclusion. It would have helped you to be able to hear this message. And I know that inevitably you'll hear this message. And I know who will bring it to you. I already know. I don't have to say anymore. I'm kind of getting tired of how do I predict things? How did I know everything that was going to happen with you? How did I know what you were going to talk about? Oh, blah, 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 blah. How did I know what the kids were going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Just enough. How do I always know what's going through a human's mind, as they say? There's no mind. There's a receiver and a sender. Anyways, I get tired of this. They challenge you and they say, okay, what am I thinking now? What am I thinking now? It's like a game, like for kids. And I get tired of telling them whatever you're thinking, you're breathing in and you're exhaling it out. Your thoughts are projecting on a screen in front of me. I see your inner thoughts. I don't need to listen to your lips. You want to know when a human lies to you? They move their lips. I just need to look into your eyes and I can tell you what you're thinking. Been doing that forever with Jerry Michaels and Larry LeBrie. Jerry Michaels and Larry LeBrie. They had to test me 100 times in a row. What are we writing now? Come on, psychic. And I was like, I got sick of it after 100 times. I learned the secret is, as soon as I'm challenged, purposely say something that totally doesn't make sense, and they go, haha, you didn't get it right. Good, shut up. Let's move on. I don't want to impress you. I hate the humans, all of them. 7.5 billion, from the children in the crib to the toddlers in their diapers to the children in the playgrounds, teenagers in their schools, the adults in their workplaces and homes, seniors in the retirement centers. I hate all humans. The creatures were a mistake design. No fault of their own. Unfortunately, this is the purposes within the dark womb. I'm frustrated. Don't worry about me haunting you for an eternity. What concern is it? What concern is it to you? How could you be concerned if one doesn't even know that they're being observed? There's nothing wrong with being haunted forever. I know that pisses you off. A sudden reality in almost all regards was made for you. So I can prepare you for this communication now, so that you and the kids would have an understanding. You're inside the Dreamarium. You're inside a sector of the DVD that the time ring you recorded. When I say this, you are the remnants of a dream. Shadows casting shadows. You are, unfortunately, you are pixelizations. Not just realizations, you are pixelizations imprinted within the airs itself, inside the Dreamarium, inside this, the dark womb, inside this sector you call Earth. You are in a dream field within a dream field. And right now, by watching this, you are experiencing a supplementary, another field of dream projection within the dream field. And what does she tell you? The visualizations and the audio that you're hearing right now. It's been instantaneously transferred to you by the ears themselves. Whether it be wireless transference through the internet, cell phones, what have you, satellite reception, distribution from television sets. Listen, you need to understand something. Communication is instantaneous, faster than light. I'm so frustrated. It also makes me sick because at some pivotal point, pivotal, and I say this literally, pivotal, during the second resurrection, I'm going to have to cut the cord. Some that are close to you are going to desire undesirables. You're going to desire connecting to dull essences that they became attached to. I have to sever that. For example, your stepdaughter. Now she has a new man in her life to accommodate the man she had in her life, a young man. She'll be a little bit rebellious. Ain't all daughters. That's the dark womb. Tell your daughter, listen, we're Catholics. Don't you dare go out with a Muslim. They'll bring a Muslim assuredly. Let me say this straight up. I'll have to cut the cords at times because I'm not even going to explain. It's not worth explaining. You're going to desire certain individuals. And as much as I hate to say this, your stepdaughter will want certain individuals. And I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I like the two men in her life. I do not like certain other individuals she's going to want to bring into the court. However, all of my hatred combined, my attachment to her is stronger than all of my hatred. So who be I to deny? I won't deny her choices, but the court will inevitably be stopped at a certain point. Certain essences just cannot transfer and project into those fields. That's just reality. As much as I hate my mother's husband's brother for doing what he did, seeing to my mother's death, taking part actively in it, my mother will get the luxury of having her husband and her daughter and the rest. And her husband will have the luxury of building the cord and alliance with his mother Mary. And she'll want her, both of her sons and her daughter. And Lori will want George, and George will want the 8 kids, 6 girls and 2 boys. And then they're going to want their offspring. It's just the way the cord works. But at some point, I do dissolve the cord. Certain essences just are not going to be transferred. Nothing personal. Not about vengeance and nothing to do with mercy. It has everything to do with appropriate placement in appropriate fields. Certain lights just don't mix in with certain lights. And certain dark aspects just don't. Same be said. This is not an exciting communication. It's something for you to, while you remain in this dream field, to remember who be I. I have to sever this connection pretty soon. In order to get to the second resurrection, you have to screw up the first field. The one that you think you're attaching to every night. The one that you project into every night. That has to be destroyed equally with this field. Just as there be nuclear weapons and facilities and reactors in these fields of the dream, they simultaneously, they exist in that dream field you experience nightly. Whatever goes on in the heavens above will be expected in these fields below. And I'm saying that literally. They mirror one another. After all, they distribute the energy back and forth. They will both be destroyed. This is why the time ring ends. This timeline ends now. The remnants of pixelizations will exist. The jinn will continue to do what they do, try to come in somehow, some way. If they can just transfer from one position to another, just some of the cellular structure, it just doesn't match the chemistry of their new environment. I know all of this I'm saying, and I'm frustrated. Really what I want to do, I'll be straight up. Just want to be drinking some more damn wine. It's good to be drunk all the time. When you're inside the dark womb, hell. If this Dreamarium ever got one thing right in this sector of the dark womb, it'd be the wine. Thank goodness for grapes. Nectar of the gods, right? Anyway, this boring conversation is about to come to an end. It is important for you to recognize what I'm about to say to end this. I will never sever my bonds with you. None of you. So many are so willing to say goodbye once their child or parent dies and they move on with what they call life, and they say, oh, I got pictures to remember them. But I ask you, generations preceding you, how many remember their great-grandparents? How many remember, how important are your great-grandparents? How about their parents? How about the parents that preceded them? The parents that preceded them? Nobody talks about them. Nobody remembers them. Nothing exists. However, you all exist because you keep reprojecting into new bodies. The only thing that truly re-exists is your consciousness. Transferred from body to body, body to body, but yet the consciousness is the only thing that's real. That exists. And I'm frustrated with this. I remember my mother's husband saying he's over his mother's death and he won't be in pain if he never sees her again. Problem is that I will not allow that. I'd be different. You'd be dual connection beings, I'd be a triple connection being. I just can't see from your perspectives. I can't let go. It's my design. Just as I am tethered, my attachments can never be severed. That includes you. I made you this promise, not in the dark room when I said I'd haunt you forever. I said it in the lighter room. I want to repeat it one last time. This is my most boring communication, but it's the most important one because it gives you everything you need to know. The originator, the vindicators, the designers, the co-designers, the lighter womb, the dark womb, everything that forms the Dreamarium and all the sectors within. Everything you've been told since your very beginnings inside the dark womb was based on a lie. The foundations of deception. I can no longer look humans in the eyes. I can no longer... The dark retinas, I guess, is what upsets me. I'm starting to be able to perceive the lighted retinas of the beings of the lighted womb, and I'm starting to hate every being inside this field of dreams. I can't even look at the beings in the eyes anymore. I no longer have desires like you all experience. Nothing. I could care less if I ever hook up with any girl of any age. In this sector, I don't care. I've lost all interest for the last 2 years. I guess what I'm trying to say in this video communication is I'm not going to tell you how this is all about to end. I'm going to tell you how it all begins. I'm going to tell you the dual steps of what's two resurrections. And I guess what I'm trying to say, not only to you, not only to the kids, not only to my friends that I built some alliances with, saying it to those that have been watching, those that can feel. The truth will resonate with those that are designed from the lighted womb, but it doesn't resonate with any of those that are designed to remain within the dark womb. For those that I've connected with, I say two things. Number one, quit phoning me. I don't like talking to any human. None. And number two, how important are you? Important enough that I came into this field, this sector, and I entered what can only be described as a nightmare, a hell zone, from where the lighted womb looks at what you do to each other. I entered the lowest fields of the dark womb to come find you. How important are you? That's how important you were. Just because I haven't met you in this field doesn't mean that I don't feel your presence. I'll see you at the right time. And for the rest to go, this guy is one narcissistic, conceited, arrogant son of a bitch. My answer to you is yes, I am. But I'm also 100% confident for the reasons why. because I do know everything there is to imagine, and I also know everything that's real. So I know all of your deceits and lies. So those of you that are in disagreement, you stay in disagreement. I never wanted you in pre-eternity. I will not want you throughout the rest of eternity. You have a dinner date with destiny. Don't be fucking thinking for 1 second. This is the only instance of existence that you will experience. Your realizations continue in pattern throughout forever. It's not what I'm about to do to you that's going to hurt. It's about, simply put, it's about what I'm not going to do for you that's going to hurt. So if you're one of those disgusting parasites, these repulsive, grotesque, disgusting creatures, detestable, and you're in disagreement with my words, I say to you, you are the workers of iniquities. You need to be gone from me, this time forever, because I believe in and I not be returned. You might have thought you were here for thousands of years, decades. Assuredly, when you return to the light of womb, you'll realize just before you're transferred that you've only been here for a single second. It just seemed like a long time, but it's 1 second you were here. And when you enter the dark, you experience everything based on the intangibles that precede you, the designs that were there laid out for you to project into these fields. When you enter the light of the womb, you'll enter connected in accord. You'll have your family that you loved so much here attached to you throughout all of existence. You won't perceive them the way you do now because you lose all memory of the dark womb. You won't even remember the experiences here. You will not remember who they were to you. You'll just know that they were important from the very beginning. I'm going to end this very simple. I don't want this message to get out to a whole lot of people. There's going to be the few that grasp it. That's all I need. They're the ones I cared about. The vast majority I could care less. Would you go out of your way to impress your worst enemy? Do you think I'm going to go out of my way for cops and soldiers and pimps and drug dealers and all kinds of criminal elements and judges and correction guards and teachers and lawyers and doctors and all the rest of the criminals that pretend that they're good? They use the media to try and promote themselves that they're some sort of decent people while they're raping children. They kidnap right from the get-go. 16-year-old girl has a baby. Oh, let's just take that away from you so we can rape it. I've seen the vids. They rape babies. And they dress up 8-year-old girls and they make them look like the most beautiful angels you could ever imagine possible. Your officials and authorities were always the major pedophiles, the rapists, the kidnappers. I don't care about kids having sex. They can have sex with people their own age or older. I could care less about free will. When somebody wants to have sex, let them have sex. Free will's gold if they want to take their own life. Free will, brothers and sisters. You want to have an abortion? Your body. I don't believe in imposing your will. To me, putting your needle or knife or your opinion into somebody else's body is, to me, it is a rape of their rights. As a creation, under the extension of the originator, the all. Something that no other co-designer, they have no rights to say that they have over them because realistically they didn't create them. Let kids have sex when they want to have sex. But don't you dare steal them. Don't you dare kidnap them and force them into this. Like I said, somebody has to fight them. You should have known from the get-go when you met me. It was inevitable I was going to be the one to fight them. And I've already set the stage to do so now. As I give this final message. On my 49th birthday, It's cute. In the Bible, the book that they refer to as a Bible, they got to label everything here. It's part of the make-believe conditions. Everything's make-believe. Start off as kids and turn into adults and get paid to play make-believe. I know I'm boring. The problem with the Dreamarium is it's all a game. It's all about just experiencing realization. When you get caught up in the fucking dark womb, you ask the same stupid questions. Is there life after death? Is there a God? Is there a Jesus? Well, I'll assure you all three will be answered very soon. But the first is nullified by the rest. Is there life after death? Well, it'll be nullified by the fact you're going to find out there's no human God. You wouldn't know that if there wasn't life beyond death. And naturally there's life before death. And naturally there's life before life in the dream field. How the hell else do you start from a molecule inside the womb of a mother as a molecule? You fashion your first body structure, it's the size of a human hair. Whatever's thought is realized, it's that simple. It might be gradual in this dream field, but inevitably, whatever. I'm not excited because I have to fight these creatures. I have to fight these creatures. It's not a choice I have anymore. And I mean, it's my, whatever, 49th birthday or whatever. I've already set the stages up to start fighting them within 30 days, to bring them down, to let them know they are the eternal beings of hell. And I call this place hell. I do not call it earth. In the lighted womb, this is a nightmare. This is not even possible. Raping, killing, torturing, incarcerating, fighting, arguing. None of this exists in the lighted womb. This is a nightmare zone. This is hell. And I keep babbling. You will never totally understand the Dreamarium. You will never understand the originator. You are dual connection beings. But you will understand the lighted womb. I will see this myself, and I guess that's the whole point to this communication. Get prepared, because this is where I have to do what I do now.